Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 22 video. So much we have to talk about. This is one of the best episodes all season and one of the best episodes for a very certain villain character that's going to be very important in the spinoff. Thankfully, a moment in the end of the episode answered questions about the timeline. There was a lot of confusion as to when this episode takes place relative to the Arrow finale. Just careful for spoilers. I'm going to explain the timeline right now just because that was like the burning question on everyone's mind last week. So this episode takes place concurrently with last week's episode of Arrow. The last moment in this episode, when Oliver says, "I might need a favor from you," takes place before Oliver and Nissa's wedding started. So at some point before or during last week's episode of Arrow, Oliver flew to Central City to help out and then flew back. So for the most part, it totally worked out. So on to top 5 moments, here we go. So number 5, the Reverse Flash explains that he's trying to get something back that was taken from him. The most important quote in this episode was like right at the beginning. It was so perfect. Think about the things that define your life: job, family, co-workers, home. Imagine if in one day, in a flash, it was all taken away from you. What would you do to try and get it back? That's a double-edged sword because Eobard Thawne is talking about him getting something back, getting the future back that was taken from him, presumably from the Flash. That's why I guess he's mad at the Flash. But he's also putting the question to Eddie, is Eddie going to do something to try and get back the future that will be taken from him, his future with Iris? Eddie isn't evil or anything right now. It's just there have been a lot of interviews that the actor has done where he talks about a dramatic shift in the character. He looks like he's definitely souring on Barry Allen. At the end of the episode, he and Iris break up. "If you love me, you'll let this end." And she loves him. She does love him, so she lets it end. That doesn't mean Eddie's going to turn against Team Flash and help the Reverse Flash accomplish his goal. But I do think that they're sowing seeds now that will grow to be really big things in Season 2. It's like the Damien Dark quote on Arrow, laying things down that are going to be happening next season. On to number 4, the power accelerator starts powering back on. There's a couple of things that could be going on here. 1, Wells could be using it as a bargaining chip. If the particle accelerator goes off, it causes a ton of damage. He's going to try and extort something from Barry Allen so that he can change the future and get back to whatever it was he lost. Alternatively, he could just be using the particle accelerator to create an energy discharge that will help him time travel. Like it could just be part of the equation necessary to get that far into the future. Think about it this way, Barry isn't quite as fast as the Reverse Flash. He still was able to time travel, but only a short distance. It seems like the way they're explaining it is the further you want to time travel, backwards or forwards, the more energy, the more speed force you have to expend. Gideon said in episode 17 that the Reverse Flash exhausted all of his speed force, as if it's like a quantifiable thing, when he traveled back to try and kill young Barry Allen. So the particle accelerator could just be like a larger version of the device that was underneath his wheelchair that was giving him power. I saw a lot of you guys had questions about Reverse Flash tech on Twitter, especially like the Flash ring, like how does it work? The way I think about it is it is like super far 25th century future tech, so everything's just super miniaturized. So the Flash ring works the way it does just because it's such advanced tech. They can just miniaturize everything. They haven't really explained where the ring comes from on the show. Like, did Eobard Thawne get the Reverse Flash ring the same way that he got it in the comics? If memory serves correctly, I think he took it from the Flash Museum. They've changed Eobard Thawne's backstory in the comics a couple times though. The most current version, the one that Jeff Johns wrote, is just like a little bit different. In that story, he got all of his Flash gear, like the suit, the ring, from a time capsule. Although, I think in the context of the show, more of the people make their own tech. He's a genius, so he might have also made his ring. You have to remember that the show is taking some liberties with the comics. So look at Eddie here. I think he's probably going to turn into like a Hunter Zolomon type character with a Thawne name, which is totally different from the comics. On to number 3, Team Flash tries to take the metahumans to Lian Yu. This was so much fun. I was so happy that they gave Lian Yu that shout out. All I could think about was them joining Captain Boomerang in that underground prison. He's just one more rogue that Captain Cold could add to his roster. This is actually a pretty complex plan, so I actually kind of broke this into a couple different moments. They need a lot of help to get them out of town, so Joe goes to the DA. They had a really interesting scene together, so I'm wondering if that DA and Joe are going to have like some sort of relationship or more scenes together next season. It feels like they have a lot of chemistry on screen. One of the really important things that shows have to do as they work into new seasons is develop more secondary characters, expand the universe. Cisco's truck dampened their powers. It was totally solid. Captain Cold was the one that sabotaged it though. That's why things went south. But I do love the argument that they have inside there. One of the key things about the Flash rogues is that none of them really like each other that much. They're really more a partnership of opportunity. It's like, hey, there's millions of dollars to be had. Why don't we put our differences aside for a moment and go after this? As you can see, some rogues, like Weather Wizard, are way more hot-headed. Usually that would be Heatwave's role. Heatwave is like the craziest rogue there is. We also see Deathbolt from Arrow, which was nice. It's nice to see Doug Jones again. He was kind of like the red shirt of the episode. Because really, of all the really fun rogues in this episode, the most fun one was Captain Cold. This is seriously like the best Captain Cold episode, hands down. One of the reasons I think that they did it that way is so that they can get you more pumped up about him being in the spin-off series. I think his speech to Barry Allen at the end was much more meaningful than the Reverse Flash's speech, but the Reverse Flash's speech at the beginning about doing whatever it took to get back what you lost, that's more important to the plot. Captain Cold was more like, hey, I'm a double-crosser, don't ever expect me to not double-cross you. He just said it in the most poetic way possible. They also took the Ferris Air opportunity to drop a Green Lantern bomb. I thought they shut this place down. Yeah, one of their test pilots disappeared. For those asking, I don't expect to ever see Green Lantern on The Flash or Arrow, but if he were to show up somewhere, if Hal Jordan were to show up somewhere, it would be on The Flash first. On to number 2. Barry Allen completely wipes Captain Cold from public records. This is also a really important thing setting up the spin-off series. Captain Cold will go back and forth between The Flash and the spin-off series. I mean, he'll probably be featured more on the spin-off series just because he's a series regular there. But I know there was a big question, when he was announced for the spin-off, is he going to be leaving The Flash? No, that's not the case. You just probably won't see him as much on The Flash. The interesting thing, though, is that he is not going to be a villain character on that series. I mean, he's still a villainous character, but in the context of the narrative that we'll be seeing in the spin-off series, he will be part of the hero group. Rip Hunter is just like, baking a superhero disaster team pie, and he needs a few bad eggs to complete the recipe. So you'll see like Heatwave, Captain Cold working with the Atom and his friends. I know that sounds weird, but we're going to get a promo for it after the Flash finale next week, so that should explain at least a few things. And finally, my number 1 WTF moment, Firestorm and Oliver Queen crash the party. Like I said, this moment happened probably like, right before or in the early moments of last week's episode of Arrow in terms of the timeline. So Oliver's getting married, Team Arrow's getting gassed after this happened. Did anybody else notice how much they slowed down some of the special effects in this? Like when the Reverse Flash used the ring to put his suit on, they slowed time down just so it looked a little bit cooler, you got like a better look at it. They did the same thing with Firestorm too. That's usually something they only do when the special effects look really good or they want to spend extra money just to make it look extra mind-blowing. I feel like the special effects have been pretty good this season. If you look way back to the first couple of episodes, you can see they were still trying to figure it out. But it's been almost half a year, they've had a lot of time to perfect it, so I think going into season 2 of The Flash, as well as the spin-off and Arrow, special effects will look a lot better. The easier and the cheaper they are to do, the more you'll see them. So you get more really cool scenes like this, where the Flash is chasing the Reverse Flash around town and it pans out and shows the entire city. A couple of the really fun tidbits in this. Oliver's teeny tiny robots, courtesy of the Atom. Nice callback to that episode when Ray Palmer used the nanites to fix his head. And the Reverse Flash tells him when he's gonna die. I think that's also a subtle reference to the fact that Oliver will not be using the Lazarus Pit to live for hundreds and hundreds of years like Ra's al Ghul. They just want to hammer home the fact that Oliver is Oliver Queen. He's not like the Ra's al Ghul character, the League of Assassins character that he's been. And because they did take the Reverse Flash down, because they did defeat him, I think that they locked him up, and I think that's what this scene is with him inside one of the prisons. So here's my big question for you guys. What was your favorite moment from the episode? And what do you think that the Reverse Flash is going to use the particle accelerator for? While you guys think about that, a couple other really fun moments that I wanted to point out. Caitlin Snow getting whammy by Rainbow Raider, going apeshit on Cisco about Ronnie. So clearly she has a lot of deep-seated anger about that still. That's as close to Caitlin Snow Killer Frost as I'm expecting to get, unless we get some sort of Flashpoint Paradox moment in the finale. If Barry Allen goes back in time and saves his mother, we could totally get Flashpoint Paradox. So it would just dramatically alter all of the characters' trajectories in the future. Then you have Cisco and Golden Glider here. He actually gives her name. How come you haven't given me an awesome name like you give to everyone else? I love the way she absolutely tortures him in this episode. Wouldn't it be hilarious in like a future season, like season 2, season 3, if it turned out that they just like totally hooked up on the side and Cisco didn't tell Team Flash about it, didn't tell his friends? Like she starts poking fun at him for hooking up in the past, and all of a sudden, Barry and everyone else inside Star Labs is like, what the hell? So Cisco, you go get a piece of that. Don't feel bad about it. You totally deserve it. So what I'm going to do is they're probably going to post like another promo for the finale. I'll do a video for that, with like some final predictions for season 1. And then once the finale airs next week, I'll start doing season 2 videos. So be sure to subscribe to get everything. If there's any specific bonus videos you guys want, just leave your requests in the comments. I'm going to be doing Flash bonus videos all summer long. There's so much that we can talk about. And we have the spin-off series, Legends of Tomorrow. So what's happening on Thursday is the CW is having its upfronts presentation where they show advertisers promos and material for shows that are going to be airing in the fall. So like they'll be showing off Arrow season 4 stuff, Flash season 2 stuff, and they'll be showing a promo for Legends of Tomorrow for the spin-off series. I don't know how much of that they're going to post online, so whatever ends up happening, I'll be doing videos for that too, separately. So while you guys wait for all that stuff to post, you can click here for all my Flash videos, and you can click here to catch up on Arrow before the finale tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.